Hello, this is Waterlily716 or Sarah, and today I wanted to film a henna update video. Since I colored my hair with henna at the beginning of November, it's now the beginning of January. We're getting into January, so it's been about 2 months. And I wanted to update about what I think about the color, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about henna and answer some of the questions from the comments. And also, before I start this one, I just want to say that I've done a lot of research on henna, but this was my first time hennaing my hair. So, with that being said, I don't have as much expertise as someone who's been putting henna in their hair for years and years. And also, if you haven't seen my first henna video, I showed the whole process of applying henna to my hair, so that's like the tutorial video, and then this is the more informational video that I wanted to make. And this is basically what my hair looks like in direct sunlight. At least that's how the camera's picking it up. My hair looks really different in different lights. There are a lot of pictures of it at the beginning of the last video. Maybe I'll put some in this video, but it looks like a really dark auburn in the sunlight most of the time. And fluorescent lighting, it looks more red, a little more brassy. But yeah, I still like the color, and I honestly don't think it's changed too much, other than perhaps darkening just a touch, but because the henna oxidizes over time. So, first things first, henna comes from a plant. It is not a chemical dye, so it's much more natural. And one of the most frequently asked questions was whether henna is damaging to your hair, and the answer is no. Because it is a naturally derived dye. It's actually more of a tint, but more about that later. Because it's like that, it doesn't damage the hair, and it actually acts like a protein treatment. So that's why it can leave your hair kind of brittle feeling, just like a protein treatment, and you have to follow afterwards with a conditioning treatment. Or you can kind of add stuff to the henna to help avoid that. But it's non-damaging, and it's a permanent color change to your hair. It is supposed to fade a lot less than chemical red dyes, and I've never used a chemical red dye, but I haven't noticed very much change in color from when I first dyed my hair. And this is after only one application. Supposedly, if you apply the henna to your whole hair 2 times, which is what I'm going to do when I fix up my roots. This is about 2 months of growth, and you guys can see that the brown's growing in. You can see that line. But it doesn't show up a lot when my hair is down. It just kind of shows up when my hair is up. You can't really see them when my hair is down because the length of my hair is still red. But I am going to color it before I go out of the country to study abroad. But anyways, back to henna, that it interacts weirdly if you have chemically dyed hair. So you're not supposed to put henna on your hair 6 months after chemical treatment, I believe, or chemical dye process, and you're not supposed to try and dye your hair with something chemical for 6 months after henna. So you can't mix chemical dyes and henna because it will cause your hair to be weird colors. And along with that, I use Body Art quality henna to dye my hair, and this is very important because if you use any other type of henna to dye your hair, it may have additives in it, like chemical stuff, that are not healthy for the hair. So just be careful if you buy henna from a store. Also, especially if it says that's a different color of henna. I've heard good things about the Lush hennas from a couple people, but if you buy henna from a store, it's not necessarily Body Art quality, and if it's not a good quality, then it might have things in it that could damage your hair or do bad things. So just be careful. And another thing along with this, there's only one color of henna. Henna the plant only creates a red dye in your hair. So usually things that are black henna, blonde henna, things like that have additives in them. And I mixed a little amla with my henna, which gave me more of an auburn tint, although I think amla is less permanent than henna, so it might wash out. Someone told me that in the comments, so keeping my eyes peeled. But so far my hair is still very auburn, but then again, I dyed over brown hair. And another additive you can add to henna, a natural one, is so you can actually dye your hair brown with henna, and you can dye your hair first with henna and then with indigo, which I think is supposed to make the indigo stay in your hair better, and then you can dye your hair black with indigo and henna. So you can use other natural plants in tandem with henna, but just be careful if you see something sold as black henna, it's not actually just henna. There's only one type of henna. And along with that, henna is not actually dye, it is a tint. It is much less opaque than chemical dyes. Chemical dyes usually go straight over your hair and change the color. Henna lays over top of your hair, so it's going to keep the natural highlights and the natural lowlights of your hair. I can tell that the top of my head and down that's been highlighted naturally by the sun is much lighter than the under layers. I don't know. It's very hard to tell in this lighting because I just have weak winter sunlight. But yes, you can definitely notice that in some of my other videos. But if you have brown hair, light brown like me, it'll generally change it to an auburn shade. If you have really dark brown hair or black hair, you may not see very much effects from henna. I know a lot of people use it as a treatment though, but the most you might see is red tints in the sunlight. So, but if you have blonde hair, it's going to change your hair to like a copper penny orange. And yeah, if you have something in between, it's going to be in between those. If you have red hair, I guess it would just darken it. I'm not really sure. But yeah, so the color you start out with depends on the effect of the henna. It's not like a chemical dye in that aspect. One other thing, henna is supposed to change curl pattern, which is, you guys might want to know that since most of you have curly hair, I think, that watch these videos. It is supposed to loosen curls. Now, personally, I haven't noticed a ton of loosening. This is second day hair, by the way, so it's not really, it was in braids, so it's not necessarily my natural curl pattern. But the thing is, at first, I didn't notice any change in curl pattern. My curls are kind of like droopier lately, but it's also because I'm in a much drier environment, so it's really hard to disentangle what could be caused by the henna and what could be caused by the weather. And along with that, I used amla in my mixture, which is supposed to enhance curls, so maybe it counterbalanced it. Personally, I haven't noticed a lot of droopiness from using the henna, but I think it'll be easier to tell in the summer when I usually have really springy curls. If I don't have springy curls, then it'll definitely be the henna. So yeah. And then there are a couple things I learned about the process that I think I probably did wrong the first time, and these are just things I'd like to change. And that is that I would like to, next time when I mix this up, I'm going to, which is probably pretty soon, I'm going to put some sort of, I don't know, essential oil or like a spice in there to help it smell better, because henna smells really bad. My boyfriend kept saying that it smelled like fish food, which is really gross. It just kind of smells like seaweed or like grass. It smells bad. So, but you can add things to the mixture so that your hair does, that it kind of covers it. And secondly, I'm going to add maybe some conditioner, maybe just oil, like a natural oil, because that can help. It's like a protein treatment just on its own. So if you just use the acidic liquid you need to make the mixture oxidize, it's just going to leave your hair kind of brittle and you have to do it afterwards. But apparently you can kind of negate the effects if you add some more stuff in it. Also, I want to say that the color you end up with when you first dye your hair is not the actual color you're going to get from the henna, because over the first week or so as you wash your hair, the henna is going to oxidize and darken in your hair. Also, something else, I used way too much henna when I did this. I used like 400 grams and I could have used perhaps half or less. So just be careful if you're going to dye your hair and if you're reading things on the internet, because the guides on the internet told me to mix that much and it was just an enormous amount of henna that I did not need. But it probably depends on the thickness of hair and the length too, so a little confusing. But it's real easy to preserve, and I just froze mine and I can use that over. And then I just want to go through pros and cons real quick to sum up this video. Pros of henna, and this is one thing someone asked me about, it doesn't stain your clothes when it rinses out, because I know at one point in time I dyed my one little curl in the back with blue and it just kept rinsing out with each wash and getting on like my towels and like clothes and stuff, but henna doesn't do that. It's really messy at first, but once it's all rinsed out of your hair, it's not going to stain anything else. But yeah, on the other side of that, the process, I guess, is probably more messy than a chemical dye. I've never dyed my hair chemically, so comparing it to chemical dyes is a little hard, but it's messy. You have to wear gloves, and it kind of gets everywhere in your bathroom. It doesn't stain ceramics or anything, it's just messy. It's non-damaging, whereas a lot of chemical dyes can be really bad for your hair. But on the other side of that, it only darkens your hair. You can't lighten your hair with henna, which is something that you can only do with chemical dyes, I think. It's really permanent, so if you don't like the effect of henna, you're going to have to wait a while to get it chemically changed. So that's just something to think about. You should really think about the decision to dye your hair with for a while. Don't do it as an impulse, because it's going to stay for a long time. It is super permanent and not easily reversible. So that may be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how you think about it. Henna is probably more smelly than a chemical dye, I bet. The smell also takes a while to wash out. Something good about henna is it's really natural. I've had several people that never met me before. When they met me and someone else said I had dyed my hair, they were like, "Oh, I just thought that was your natural color." Or people just tell me, "Oh, your hair looks a lot darker than it used to." And I'm just like, "Yeah, I dyed my hair." And people don't even think that I've dyed my hair because it looks really natural. So that's a really good thing. And the last con, it's kind of a longer process, I think, than dye, because you have to set the dye out the night before and let it oxidize, and then you get to apply it. But I don't know. I think the benefits outweigh the cons, especially for henna, at least for me. And I think any way you put it, applying dye to your hair is going to be messy. It's going to take a while because you have to coat every strand regardless of what type of dye you're using. So, I don't know. I really like henna. And I still love the color. Every time I look in the mirror, I'm so excited to be a redhead. And it's still a little new. It's still like, oh, my hair is different. I don't know. It's just exciting because I never ever dyed my hair before this process. And yeah, I will probably continue being a redhead for the foreseeable future. And yeah, generally my hair is really happy with the henna. I like the henna. It was a really positive experience. So if you want to dye your hair red, brown, or black, I definitely recommend looking into henna as an option because it's a lot more natural. Yeah, that's all I have to say about henna. If you guys have any more questions, please feel free to leave them below in the comments. If you are a henna head and have advice for me or others, please leave that below as well. And thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day. I'll see you guys later.